Hello, trading has closed on July 10th, 2025. As always, we'll start with our disclaimer. We'll go over our calls and then make our predictions. It's my trading plan for Friday, July 11th, 2025. Remember, it's a plan. I can change it. I can be wrong. Trade at your own risk. Look for the pattern with the early low, which is this. Tomorrow has the early low. Tends to be a rally day with a high and a fine lower. It was a rally day. There was a high and a fine lower, but since we didn't close at the high, or near the high, it's a negative pattern. Now time doesn't run out until tomorrow's open, so if we open up here, all is forgiven. But for right now, if we don't open up here, it's a negative pattern, should lead to lower prices. Doesn't mean that we close lower. We had a target, 62.42.39. Everything was all set for a big drop unless we gapped up smartly. Well, we gapped up 4 points. So what is smartly? Well, I never really defined smartly, but we were down overnight the whole time. We gapped up 4 points. If we could just kept on dropping, I would have ignored it. But when you have all the setups for a big drop and you gap up to kill the pattern, I don't think it pays to argue about what's smartly and what isn't. You have to be prepared to abandon the idea, which is what I did. This is just what happened. We gapped up, and if it's not clear if it's smart or not, just don't take the trade. If it isn't a clear A+ trade, don't take it. That's how I play things. There'll be enough perfect trades that you don't have to guess. Well, we have a new target, 62.56.42. Unless we gap up smartly, that'll be my call for tomorrow. Gapping up smartly is entirely possible. We hit a new all-time high. There's a wall into the close. We certainly could gap up. There's no rule against it. But if we don't gap up, I think it's trouble. During the day, in the morning, we got an ultimate buy signal and a buy signal that worked, but this rally was called false. We're going to retrace to this line at some point, and that's quite a ways down. We got an ultimate buy signal and a buy signal in the afternoon. That played out. There was an optional lower target that was here, and that printed, and there's support under that target. So it still is possible we gap up and put the whole bearish case to rest for a while. It's tough to call tops when a strong bull market like this, but let's look at some evidence. This is bar 13 of a DeMark sequential sell signal. It's bar 12 for real with a possible bar 13 since the last 3 bars don't have to obey all the rules of a DeMark combo sell. And when these occur in alignment, when they work, they don't always work, when they work, it can lead to some pretty big drops. And the support level is right down here, which is about 6,025.17. So if this works, it's compatible with a big drop. Again, these things just say you're overextended, calls the area of a top when it works, doesn't have to call the exact price. But if we don't start down with a conviction within 3 bars, you're probably not going to have a real big drop. Well, we still have a target which is now over 6,400, but that doesn't mean we can't drop down to this line first. It doesn't break any rules. So if we do have a drop that goes to that line, we still have this target. Don't forget, these have been pretty reliable, but they can fail too. We stopped right at this trend line. Once again, you have a straight line move up to a trend line. Either you gap over the line or the line wins. So if we don't gap over this tomorrow, we should see lower prices. Not looking for a disaster here, but I like to call things a day at a time, and we've rallied right up to resistance. We have lower targets that should print at some time. This is still a stilt, and that could still be a diamond. I don't have anything saying you have to go to completion. Pattern doesn't have to. But if this DeMark stuff works, we could drop in a straight line. Futures are unchanged basically as I'm recording this, and that doesn't have to happen. But if there's a straight line drop, target's way back down to here. Friday's pattern has yearly low regardless of where we open. We have a lower target. If we don't gap up smartly, the rules call for it to print. Norm Winsky has a change in trend after today's close. I mean, he's been pretty consistent, 70 to 80%. It's not 100. The Woodson turn date is Sunday, which means either Friday or Monday is his date. I mean, they've been pretty good, so it's the area where we look for a top based on his method. DeMark combo and sequential cells have triggered an alignment. If we keep going up, the whole thing could recycle and we start to count over again, but right now that hasn't happened. And sentiment indicators continue to show bullishness, too much bullishness. We gapped up, hit a higher high, closed under midday highs. If that's maintained at the open, it's a bearish pattern, should lead to lower prices. And if we undercut this low, which again hasn't happened, if that happens, we'll trigger a Trader Vic 2B sell signal. We have plenty of elements for top here, provided we start down with conviction. If you don't really start down, you try to call the top in these strong markets, you can regret it. But if we do start down, there's plenty of evidence, and if we gap up over this high, I would just put the idea to rest for a while. We don't have what we need. Bulls need to gap and promptly overtake the high a day to continue the rally, and I'm not claiming that's impossible. I'm claiming it hasn't happened yet, and the burden of proof is on them. This is not the kind of response you want when you break the all-time high. You want it to keep going higher. You don't want a possible Trader Vic 2B top. Now, we keep going up here, fine. I mean, you're going to try to call the top a lot of times and be wrong. But we have all we need here if, in capital letters, if we start down. And if we start down, it could be very tradable. But we haven't started down yet. We just have all the elements we need if we get the break. So it's the pattern with the early low. Bulls need to gap over this high. Or at least make a gap and take this high out early, which is going to be hard in the pattern with the early low. If we don't break this early, I think we are going to drop. And if we do drop, it could be quite a ways down, over 100 handles, before it's done. But I don't think it's going to be a disaster since I have the higher target. But at the very least, don't forget these numbers which are in play. So it's the pattern with the early low. We'll see where we open. We open down here. I think we're going much lower. Tradably lower, I should say. And if we gap up here, I'm just going to forget the idea. And that's today's call.